That budget. Do you know where this was filmed?
No, that was Seattle?
No. South Africa.
What?
I don't want to do it. Dude, I don't want to do it.
Okay, are you ready?
Okay,
Come on,
you have
do
to
it.
Give me a countdown.
I will, I promise. Ah!
Chronicle is a film made by Josh Trank and Max Landis in 2012. It's a found footage superhero sort of movie. It's about three teens. They find a mysterious object of sorts.
It's a rock.
It's a rock, yeah. Alien, maybe, supernatural, something. Anyways, they get powers. One of them becomes evil, and that's basically the movie. It's a very simple, straightforward narrative. But Nadi, what'd you think of Chronicle?
I dig Chronicle.
Yeah?
This is about my third time seeing it. I remember watching it when I was in high school, like freshman year of high school. And
I saw it about the same time, too.
it's a very fun premise. The director actually came up with this idea in high school.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I will say this is going to sound like a criticism, but it's actually something I think that like helps the movie. It feels kind of amateur,
A little juvenile.
in a way. Some of the effects aren't, like up to necessarily like today's standards.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's good.
Right, I would say everything except for maybe the last shot and the baseball. Those are the two big ones for me in terms of the effects. Anyways, though, I love Chronicle. I've seen this movie multiple times. I think probably like 3 or 4 times, so I think we're about even in our amount of times we've seen this movie. It's a very, like, I guess cathartic would be the word I would use. It's like, it's a good wish fulfillment movie because it really dives deep. This is a superhero movie that's trying to do the what if superheroes were real kind of thing. And this is one that sort of goes for more of a, like, most of the time with those movies, it's more of like a political critique or something like that. This is just reveling in sort of like the fun of being superheroes while also like giving you the danger of like if just anyone got powers, things could go wrong.
And beyond just the fun of being superheroes, the fun of being like a kid.
Yeah. Superpowers.
Just being, I'm sure they're all about like 16, 17. And I will say the chemistry between the three boys is like the strongest point in the movie.
Yeah.
Especially, I think this was Michael B. Jordan's, this wasn't like his breakout role, but this was one of the roles that sort of like got more attention from him in Hollywood.
Yeah, same with Dane DeHaan.
Yeah, Dane DeHaan. The other guy, Matt, he's fine. Alex Russell delivers an okay performance. So, did you know that they actually got all three of the boys to live together for like 2 weeks? Before the movie came out. I think that really helps their chemistry. It feels like they're like actually good friends. And
it feels like they know each other, which is great, and they riff off of each other. They each have their little roles. Steve is like the sort of jock, perfect guy. You just love him throughout the entire movie. Matt is sort of just like, I don't know what you would call him. I don't like Matt
wannabe
too much.
Philosopher.
Wannabe, he's sort of like a little douche, little indie douche, I guess you would probably call him, but he's a little more annoying, but like, you still like him in a way. He's sort of your placeholder main character. You're not main character,
he's sort of
he's where you
like self-insert for the audience.
Yeah,
What's the word? Like an everyman. He's kind of like an everyman.
An everyman, yeah. Average Joe. And then you have Dane DeHaan's character, Andrew, who is the most complex character and the main character, who is this sort of incel-ish type character. He has a lot of family problems at home, but he still has kind of a good heart throughout most of the movie. You still relate to him in some ways.
He's definitely abused.
Yeah, he's
by his father. The way you're describing them, it reminds me, I saw this Letterboxd review for this movie. It said, a jock, an incel, and a philosopher walk into a bar. I just think that's a funny little catch for the movie. But it really captures like different sides of like male adolescence. Really, like we said, Steve is like popular, says he wants to be president one day, confident, got all this strong optimism. Right. Whereas you get Matt, who's more like the skeptical one, and then you get Dane DeHaan, who's more like the nihilistic, like, what's the word, like Darwinism, like kind of like evolution determines natural selection, apex predator, that.
Right.
Whereas like, okay man, like you just gotta like hang out with your friends a little more.
Yeah, he's kind of like basing everything off of his experience. He feels inferior because of his whole father thing going on.
Yeah. A lot of the strengths of this movie, beyond just the chemistry of the cast, is it's just such a fun premise.
Yeah.
And it being a found footage movie. Now, I haven't seen too many found footage movies. I think this is my favorite one, though, that I have seen.
Really? Okay.
one thing that is a cool element is that later in the movie, when he starts like really mastering his powers, he starts like floating the camera around him, which is like a way to make it a found footage movie, but still have more like kind of cinematic shots.
Yeah, that's what I will say. I will say this movie, like while being a found footage movie, it sort of, I would say almost half commits to that in a way. There's definitely points where I look at it and it's not like a flaw in the movie because it's still like a fun, entertaining movie to watch. This is just like sort of a logical error where I'm watching it and I'm like, that's not what cameras looked like in 2012. Yeah. That's a lot better quality. There's a scene where they go to a rave and you can hear everyone flawlessly. You know, the camera's not going like, you're not getting like a bass boosted audio.
Yeah.
But you do get a lot of like entertaining stuff from it, like a lot of unique camera angles and such.
Yeah. Another thing about that rave, number one, crazy rave for a high school party.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't go to very many parties in high school, but I kind of doubt that they were to that level.
Yeah, it looked much more like a college party.
Yeah. But anyway, at that during that scene, you get introduced to Casey, which is Matt's. I guess I don't know if they were like friends, and then they're like sparking up a relationship, or if they were like ex-boyfriend girlfriend. They don't really talk about it.
It seems like they were ex-boyfriend girlfriend. There's an obvious romance there.
Yeah. I will say that's where some of my flaws with the movie come in. There's not many, but she really has like almost no purpose in the movie other than to be another camera.
I think she serves the purpose of being another camera, but also just like giving Matt something to do. Because you have Steve, who's so likable and like entertaining and pure-hearted, like naturally, and then you have Dane DeHaan's character, Andrew, who's like the main character and focused on the most. And then Matt's character really doesn't have like much to do outside of interacting with Andrew, so you don't get a feel for who Matt is. So that I feel like they kind of like gave him a romance plot just to like give him something, you know?
Which is funny because if you think about it, the movie is kind of like his origin story. Like the movie doesn't, it kind of ends with a like, oh, maybe he'll become like a hero. He'll like go like to the mountains like Batman did in Batman Begins and like learn enlightenment, and then he says he's gonna find out what happened or how they got their powers. So you know, for the fact that the whole movie is supposed to basically be like his origin story, he's really kind of the most like boring of the three of them.
Yeah, and I mean he is a side character because this is not. This would be his origin story if this was a superhero movie, but this is an anti-hero movie because it's all about Andrew. I know we're throwing around superhero movie a lot, but I know I'm perhaps like a bigger inspiration for this movie, and it's pretty like obvious throughout, is Akira. I know you haven't seen Akira yet, but there's a lot of obvious allegories. The plot is almost like, I don't want to say verbatim Akira, but like diet Akira, I would say, where you have a character who feels very inferior, and then they get powers, and the movie's about them going over the top with it.
So Chronicle is like Coke Zero Akira.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. They even reference Akira almost directly in this movie at the end when Matt's like, or not Matt, Andrew's in his like hospital gown and he's doing a bunch of psychic shit. Like that's ripped straight from Akira.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I haven't really seen like a superhero movie quite like this. I mean, I know we just said it's not exactly a superhero movie, but I haven't really seen anything in the genre quite like this. I mean, I've seen like high school superheroes with like Spider-Man Homecoming or whatever.
Yeah.
But nothing sort of this level. It's been mentioned that like maybe they would do a sequel, but I don't think they will because apparently there was some little bit of drama on set between Josh Trank and Max Landis. Max Landis has received some allegations, and as far as Josh Trank's concerned, he believes them all.
Yeah.
He says it sounds exactly like him. He wouldn't even allow him on set while they were filming.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you know you got a problem then.
Yeah. But what's interesting about this is that 3 years later, Josh Trank is directing Fantastic.
A superhero movie.
Yeah, a superhero movie. And I mean, when you think about it from his perspective, making this sort of like indie, like found footage superhero movie and then landing like a large IP like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive in that short amount of time.
That's true.
And like even when you watch Fantastic, which I don't know if you have, in a while.
Not in a while.
I don't think I've seen it since it came out.
Right, me neither.
You can see like why they saw like his talent in this and saw that he like might be good for this kind of like genre.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the problems with Fantastic, I think there was a lot of like studio interference, and I think even Josh Trank was even like showing up like drunk to set. And
at one point he didn't care anymore, from what I've heard, and he just showed up to set drunk and did whatever he wanted.
Yeah, I'd say even though I haven't seen that movie in a while, I'm going to assume that this movie is better than that because I enjoyed this movie more than I remembered enjoying.
I think what this movie honestly like kind of has over it is like it's not an IP, you know, it's not a Spider-Man or anything like that. So it's not restricted to any type of like formula of what you have to do in a superhero movie. And it lets the movie like sort of revel in what it wants to revel in, which is that like cathartic teenagers being teenagers with superpowers, messing around stuff. I feel like in like a Spider-Man type movie, like those superhero movies, usually you get like one scene where the main character's like, awesome, I got the powers. And then they don't show that enough because they're like, well, we have to set up a villain and we have to do all this stuff. In this movie, these aren't IPs. These are just real people, and it feels like they're real people. So you can just have your main character be the anti-hero, and you can go whatever direction you want with that.
Yeah. No, it's fun. I think if it got a sequel or even like a tie-in comic, which maybe it has, I don't think it does.
Yeah.
I think that might kind of like tarnish it a little bit. I think this is a movie that is okay being a standalone movie, and it works. I think it still holds up in 2023.
Definitely.
And you know, because it's like you said, it captures those elements that's not just fun about being a superhero, but fun about being a kid. So I feel like even if you showed this to like a kid in high school now, they wouldn't, you know, I mean, I don't know how desensitized the new crop is.
Yeah.
But I feel like they would still enjoy this and find it like a good
definitely. I don't think they'd be desensitized at all. If anything, I think like this movie would play better for them because they're like, we've come out of the superhero craze, and this movie, like I said, is like a very real take, or it's very grounded. So I think a lot of like, I think younger people would just gravitate towards this and how like different and fun it is because it's not a big budget superhero movie. This is a small movie about characters.
Speaking of budgets, Braden, let's play a little game. What do you think the budget of the movie is?
I know the answer to this.
Oh God!
We're not playing.
I thought I was going to get like a one-up on you, and
I am the apex predator.
You're the apex predator in this scenario. Okay.
It's $15 million.
It is $15 million.
Yeah.
Well used.
Well used.
Yeah.
They had to do some trickery too to get everything out of that budget. Do you know where this was filmed?
No. Oh, it was Seattle?
No. South Africa.
What? Was this movie really filmed in South Africa?
Yeah, apparently it was like cheaper to film there or something like that. A lot of the movie is filmed in South Africa, and there's like stuff that they had to like, apparently they had to like fly in or like ship in like American cars and stuff because they were like, that would be easier to like just film that way. I don't know. It was something about the budget.
Okay, wow. Yeah, I mean, I'd say I didn't notice.
Right.
So I guess they did good.
I'm going to fact check that later, but I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be crazy if someone just made that up?
That would suck for me.
All right, well, we played the budget game, Braden. How about we play the ratings game?
The ratings game?
Yeah.
I think I might go 5 out of 5 for
Okay.
Chronicle. Because it's kind of, we didn't talk about the runtime at all, but the runtime is perfect. It's like an hour 30, so it's straightforward. And I really don't have any problems about the movie. Like, all the characters are fleshed out well and explained, except for maybe Matt. But once again, he's a side character, and you get enough of him to know what he's about. So I wouldn't even really consider that a problem. And it's just like, I watch this movie with my friends all the time, and it's just always a fun time. Like, I've never gotten bored of this movie, and there's nothing quite like it. So yeah, I think 5 out of 5 is what I'm going to go.
Okay. I was teetering on a 5 out of 5. I would almost give it a 5 out of 5. For a lot of those same reasons you did, I'm going to take a step down a little bit. I'm going to go 4.5 out of 5.
Okay.
Only for the fact that I do feel like there are some scenes, namely with the Casey character,
Right.
that don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think, this is something we didn't really touch on, some of the turn of Andrew, a lot of it has to do with his father. And I think sometimes his father is kind of like cartoonishly abusive father.
Yeah.
You know, there's not like a lot to him really. And the movie doesn't really need to delve into that. I think it still works, but ultimately I feel like his turn was a little abrupt. And again, the Casey character I feel like is pretty much pointless. They don't even have like a payoff for her at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
She's really just there either to give Matt more to do, to have an extra camera. But other than that, the chemistry is great. The premise is great. I think it's going to age well. And I think like one day, like, you know, because sometimes you'll be on like TikTok or whatever.
Right.
I don't know if you peruse TikTok.
I do indeed.
But occasionally you'll like come across like movie clips, and it'll be like stuff that like like all the people are like, whoa, what's the name of this movie? I feel like this is that kind of movie.
I bet people have already like edited the scene where they're playing football in the clouds and put Tame Impala over it or some shit and been like, whoa, cinematic scene.
So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5, teetering on a 5 out of 5. But I just had those few little problems with it. But highly recommend it. It's fun. The runtime's great. It's a worthwhile watch.
I agree.
All right, Braden. Let's bid the video adieu.
She's just looking at it. What you looking at, girl? Stay in school.